Ooh, ooh, ooh. There's only one of you, so tell us your story like only you do. We're on the same team of dreamers, a happy, scrappy group of believers. So come, play a part. There's room for mistakes and messes and art. Who cares if there's not many takers? We're doing it for the makers.
Hey, you guys. It is going to be a fun podcast today, friends. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lee Beth Etheridge. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with the one and only
Rachel Gifford.
You're very musical today.
I guess I'm just, you know what? I kind of feel like I am Buddy the Elf breaking out into song
Sure.
anytime I want to speak, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
sound good.
What?
I'm in a basement and I'm singing.
Yeah,
literally. Hey, there's no singing at the North Pole.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love your voice. You sing whenever you want.
Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? It is. It's kind of my favorite pastime to like sing poorly.
It's really fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like singing something slightly. I was doing this the other day, singing slightly off pitch.
Yeah.
But like only a little bit.
See, the difference between you and I is that mine is not intentional. Mine just happens that way.
That's not true.
I'm like, this is so fun. I just
No.
love not being good.
Such a lie.
That's such a lie. Have y'all ever been in a concert or like seen an open mic or something where somebody is doing that like legit? I can't look.
Yeah, it's
at
like
them.
the Fergie and NBA
Oh my gosh.
anthem that she did.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes I still watch that and I get like weirdly, I just want to recoil into nothing.
Like secondhand embarrassment.
And I
from
wasn't
it.
even there. I'm not
Right.
Fergie. Like I'm
Right.
not anybody. And
I'm not Fergie.
I'm not Fergie. Craziness. But I feel terrible for her.
Yeah.
It's just
It's LeBron looking down, trying not to laugh for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I would probably be the same. I'd probably be like, this is terrible and so funny, and I can't show that it's funny.
It has to be serious. Oh, it's just so, it's so bad. You guys, a few reminders before we jump into this episode. Our podcast is released on the second and fourth
This is a
Friday
test.
of every month because you clap on the 2 and the 4.
Not on the 1 and the 3.
I kind of sprung that on her. She wasn't
did.
prepared for that. Sorry,
That's okay.
Rach.
Okay.
Nailed it though.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know what you were going
bits
for.
on bits on bits. So, you guys, we have an incredible guest here today. We love her so much, and we know that you guys will love her too. Rach, can you introduce our guest really quick?
Yes, our guest today is the one and only Sydney Kirkegaard. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into your bio. Sydney Kirkegaard is a theater and commercial actor from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and got her BFA in musical theater at TCU. Go Frogs. Sydney has performed in venues across the country, including the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, the Riverside Theater, Lyric Stage, Skylight Music Theater, and most notably alongside Phish at Madison Square Garden. So freaking cool. She also works as a voiceover artist for video games, anime cartoons, and TV commercials, including characters in American Girl, One Piece, and Cousins. She has trained in all styles of dance for 17 years and continues to train and assist classes at BDC, Broadway Dance Center in New York City. Sydney, thanks for being here.
God, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh.
It's always good to be here and hanging out with two very lovely, talented human beings. So,
Well, geez.
Well, shucks.
Well, shucks. So Sydney and I know each other from TCU. That's why I had to throw a Go Frogs into your bio. And so, my gosh, we've been friends for like 10 years now.
yeah, I think our 10-year anniversary is like today, or not today. Can you imagine?
Surprise!
That's what I planned.
Wow, you guys! Congratulations.
Honestly, though, I think it is.
It's,
'cause
like,
we
weird.
would have started school in
Yeah.
August.
in August, yeah.
So I think it's 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is totally wild.
You guys know that there's a like psychological fact that if a friendship lasts more than 6 years, it's supposed to last a lifetime. So y'all are in it for the long haul.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Are you kidding me? I'm honored. Freaking honored. Also, it was so fun reading your bio because I remember when I think it was like when you booked the Phish concert at Madison Square Garden and like you couldn't like you signed so many things.
So many things.
And so you could not say a word.
Yeah.
But you were like, you guys, it's like
a big deal.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember, somehow like ended up, I don't know, but I just remember in like watching it, like people were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Sydney's at Madison Square Garden on New Year's Eve. Everybody was like, what's going on? It was like the best like New Year's Eve surprise that I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah. It was honestly, the whole experience was something I had never dealt with before, because you're right. Like I was subleasing from Carly when this was happening.
Oh yeah. You were with us.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And it worked out perfectly. Like I was like, oh, this is the best. But the rehearsal process of it was, we rehearsed for, I remember 23 straight days. We didn't have one day off, and it was all day. So we'd get there at 8 a.m. and we'd probably leave at like 6 or 7. We'd obviously have breaks and stuff, but like because it was so a fast turnaround that it had to be like, everyone just had to hunker down and just, get her done. And then it was really nice. We had a week off, I think, to go home for the holidays.
Yeah.
And then we had to be back obviously for New Year's. And I just remember the whole time feeling like I was in it was like a weird quarantine before all the madness happened in 2020, which was kind of funny to think about now. But we could only talk about it with all of us that were in this room. And it was like 20 of us.
Right.
Wow.
And we had to sign so many NDAs. There were also so many rules about like what you could keep afterwards.
Oh,
so
interesting.
like you had your own custom thing, like what do you call it? Utility. We wore like utility.
Jumpsuit, utility. Yeah.
And I was also a swing. So I was a yellow person for like the whole duration, but obviously like if I needed to jump in on other things that I would switch colors.
Right.
So they gave me all 4 different colored Vans that we had to wear. And I got to keep all of these things, which was awesome. But like, I don't need 4 brightly colored Vans.
Right.
And there were rules about like, you can't sell it. You can't like,
Right.
you can't,
Wow.
even if you donate it, it has to be like, there were certain instructions for donating because of just like I don't know. But I just remember like everybody had to be so quiet about it, and everyone wanted to post everything because we were taking such cool photos and like, wanted to share. And I would come home every day and I'd be just with Rachel being like, so like, it was cool. It was really,
it was so much fun.
yeah, I was like, I can like move around and charade it for you, but I can't tell you.
2 words.
2 words or 3 words. Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a really cool experience, and I got to meet like some of the incredibly talented people who I don't know, like can't even imagine working with. I remember the process too was crazy because I would talk like first couple days of rehearsal, like you're still in that phase of like, there was a lot of people from the West Side show that I had done a couple months prior. Mm-hmm. So that was nice to have like them, but you'd meet new people and you'd chat with people and you'd like, joke around. And then suddenly you'd hear someone say like one of my dear friends, Nicole, who I did that, the Phish show with, who I met through that process. She's like done backup dancing for like Justin Bieber music videos, like whatever. And I remember she would just like casually bring that up. And that was when it kind of, the what do you call it? Not FOMO. What is it called?
Like imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I remember the first week after hearing all that being like, oh my God, like these people have done, insane like Broadway shows and worked with like insanely talented people that I could only dream of. And I'm like, joking about farts with them at rehearsal. It was just like a weird, it was so strange. But it was really funny because I think it was a really humbling experience too, to be like, these people who have done such incredible things, who I also would like to do similar things in the future, are like literally just people.
Right. Yeah.
They're literally just human beings who are fun and nice and, cool and hardworking. And there's just no difference between the two of us.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was like a really cool thing to kind of, and I think the 23 days really helped with that because there was just no choice but to like get over that.
Right.
Because there was no time to be wasted to be like, I don't know if I can do this. It's like, I have no choice.
Right.
I am here.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to do it and it's going to be great. And it was. So I lucked out in that way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Also about the bio, about the cousins thing.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's a Subway chain that's only in the Midwest.
Oh, yes.
Right. I was like, I don't know what that is.
That's okay. A lot of people don't. But it's funny because my mom quite literally texted me yesterday and she was like, heard you on TV. And she sent me a video of it. She like caught the last bit of it. They were like watching the Packer football game.
You're kidding.
And
Oh my
And you
gosh.
like pop up.
yeah, and all of a sudden you hear my voice being like, get the turkey sub for $2, da-da-da. You know what I mean? And my mom was like, I heard you. And I was like,
Oh my gosh,
oh,
you're
God.
like, gosh, thank you.
This is going to run forever.
Yeah.
Like,
You're gonna be like 80 years old and you're
Watching
still
the Packer
hearing like,
game.
yeah.
we're like, those were the days. Talking
My
about
young boys.
For
Yeah.
2 yada da. And you're like, wow, it's still the same price.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I feel like inflation hasn't got them.
Yeah,
Inflation
exactly.
hasn't got the cousins.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
price.
Ooh, okay. Sorry. So giggly today. I'm kind of here for it. Okay. So Sydney, I think I mean, this is like a well-known fact. When people ask me like who my favorite actor is, I say Sydney Kirkegaard. Still to this day, I said it in college. No,
Yeah,
I'm
she does.
dead serious. People are like, who's your favorite actor? And I'm like, well, this girl I went to college with, Sydney Kirkegaard. And then I will list off some other people too, but I'm just like, I just love who you are as an artist. And I have since the day I met you. And I think that you have such like a unique, set of skills.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just it's always just been like crazy to me that you're so good at so many different things. But also just that like your level of discipline and commitment to them is also really admirable to me. So with that said, I think we should jump into the first question, which is, how did you get involved in the arts?
Well, first off, that's like the kindest. I think you've said that to me before, and every time I'm like, oh my God, I need to leave. I need to go. So that's very, very kind of you to say. And I'm very honored to have that title in your mind. Don't know if I deserve it, but you know.
You do.
But I started off quite young. I was like a wannabe child actor. So I didn't do like any of the, I think my mom was really like she kind of like spearheaded a lot of what I did as a kid because she saw that I loved just like dancing and singing and I was very outgoing. And I think in general, she was like, well, let's just see if she likes to do it like more intensely, I guess. And so I remember would bring me to like auditions for theaters in Milwaukee, theaters in Chicago. And I ended up getting an agent as well when I was young. And I think just from that point on, I just was lucky to get cast in things. And I didn't end up doing any of the kind of the like initial steps I feel like that most people do, like going to like, you know, community theater shows or like school shows or whatever. And not to say that those are like any better or any worse, but just I think I just skipped that step.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny because I saw a friend of mine from high school a couple weeks ago, and he was like, it's crazy because I never even knew, like I knew you did theater, but like I never knew, I think you did a really good job of kind of separating the two because I never thought of you as like Sydney the theater girl. You know what I mean? Like I was never labeled as that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that was so important to me to have that separation, but I really wanted that because I think I just like, it felt so different. It felt like different worlds. Like going to school and being social that way felt very different than like what I really loved doing.
Yeah.
And like, I never, those, you know, kind of worlds never collided because like I was never working with people in my high school.
Right.
So I did like professional theater all throughout, like starting in like elementary school, middle school and high school. And I think it really helped that I had an agent at the time as well, because that we just opened up more opportunities for me to kind of explore things beyond just theater. And that's kind of where I did a lot of the, like, I don't know if I've told you, I hosted like a outdoor TV show. So it was like a TV show about the outdoors.
No way.
Yeah. I did that.
Gosh. That's amazing.
It's documented like the horrific years of maturity.
Yes. Yeah.
Like also because they let me do my hair and they let me dress myself, which is like cruelest thing you could do to like a 12-year-old
girl. Yeah.
Because now they're just forever
there
archived.
Yep.
I remember there was one specific episode where I decided to like pin. For those of you who can't see me, who have never seen my face, I have a large forehead and a widow's peak. You can imagine the beautiful combination that makes. But I like made 2 really low space buns, like ugly little poos hanging off my head. And then I slicked back my bangs. I have also had bangs for like my entire life for a reason. And
slicked them back.
That day I decided we're going crazy. And I slicked them back with 2 bobby pins as tight as they could go.
No, Sid.
And I was wearing a white t-shirt with a pink, like a wife beater tank top over top with like jorts, like cut jorts, and then like fold over white socks with white shoes. And I was like, I looked like a grown toddler. Like it was insane how they were like,
Sydney.
They looked at me and they said, "This is perfect.
Yeah.
Roll the camera." And then I talked about corn for the entire episode. So like,
if you ever submit for Shucked, you need to just send them that video. Don't like send it anything else.
it's true. And sometimes people will find them like occasionally because they're on and some of them are on the internet. And some of them also are still running on TV.
No way.
Yes. So sometimes I'll get text messages from like my mom will like forward me something that another mom friend of hers sent, being like, "Isn't this Sydney?" And it's me as like a 10-year-old in another heinous outfit talking about cows or like cranberry bogs or you name it. But I did that show for like a long time, like probably since I was like 8 years old, all the way up until I was probably like 14.
Wow.
So I did it a lot.
And was this just like local? Like
it was through, I got it through my agency. It was filmed all throughout the Midwest.
Wow.
So like we would have to drive like hours on end, and then we would shoot all day. And it was like it's on like Midwestern, like Central Time TV.
Okay.
But it's on like the Discovery Channel, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
streaming now on.
Yeah. It's called Into the Outdoors.
Oh my God.
Kirkegaard. Into the Outdoors, kind of ahead of its time. Like Into the Unknown.
It was great.
I don't know.
You know, I learned a lot. It really helped me in general because I had to memorize so much information as a little kid, which also was kind of a daunting task. And also it was very much TV-esque where you'd get there and they'd be like, "Okay, we need to change this." I remember there was one episode in particular that we were like learning how to reuse and remake paper. Mm-hmm. And like the whole process that they had written out for me scripted was just not the actual real process. And they realized that after we got there and spoke to the expert. So they were like, "Sydney," as an 11-year-old, they're like, "I need you to say this huge paragraph instead of the other paragraph that you memorized. And we got to go here. Let's action, blah, blah, blah." And so it was just like, that was like a valuable lesson of just like having years of that. Yeah. Drilled into me and being able to kind of adapt to what they needed of me, which was really cool. But yeah, so I did stuff like that all throughout like my young years. And then when I went to college, I kind of settled that I really loved theater the best. And so I was like, that's, you know, what I would prefer to focus on at the moment, because that really was the majority of my experience as well. So I kind of focused on stuff like that, but it was cool. Yeah, there were definitely times though where I was like, I would be interested, because I as a kid, I think I was just really lucky and got to a decent amount of like legit auditions for things. Like I was up for the girl in True Grit.
Oh wow,
you know
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was like later on, like when I was like early high school, like 14-ish, and I always think about stuff like that. Like if I had gotten it,
right.
If, I got like very close, and if I had gotten it, like how different like I would be, or like my life would be, or, it's just funny that things, I'm very grateful that they've panned out the way that they have. And I wouldn't change anything, but it's just always interesting that I'm like, I think I probably could have been, a child actor kind of, origin story.
Right.
And it's like those typically never work out very well for the adult version of them.
Right.
So I weirdly am grateful. Like at the time it's devastating when you don't get that stuff, especially as a kid, because you don't really understand like
totally
the business. And but it was cool just to even, have those experiences to begin with. So
yeah.
It's
funny that you mention the high school friend that said like you weren't like the theater kid, because I think that was something that was kind of special about our college class. I remember feeling like, especially with like the women in our class, we all felt very grateful for the fact that we love theater, but we were like, we want to have social lives and well-rounded lives outside of this.
Yeah.
And that's like carried into our post-grad lives too. And like post-grad, we're not even the post-grad phase anymore.
Yeah,
we're like well
adults.
beyond. Yeah. I don't know why I say that.
We're full
but
adults.
like
fully grad.
we're fully grad.
Fully gradded.
We are in the real world.
Yeah.
But like truly, I think that's been something that's been really special of like, we had that like that 4 years of like time that brought us together, and we had, I was about to say we had pretty good heads on our shoulders then, and we did.
Yeah.
Asterisks,
yeah. Quotations,
college
maybe.
kids.
Yeah.
But then
18 to 22. Okay.
Exactly. But then like even now I'm just like, I feel so thankful for that, of like, we just have remained like good friends, and because we know that life is life. And so we just go through life. It's not just like career theater talk all the time.
I do think it's interesting. This is kind of a question for anybody in the circle, but why? Because there are those people in the industry. I mean, we encounter them every single day, especially in audition rooms or presenting projects or whatever it might be, or in class even. But it's like that I thought it was so interesting the way you said that, Sydney, of like separating these two worlds, even though they were both a part of you, that people make their quote unquote success in this industry, or like even just the art form in general, their full identity. It's like completely who they are. Or even what you were saying, Rach, like there's an understanding of like, there's more to our lives than just theater, Why do you guys think that is? Like, why do people attach their identity or people can attach their identity so closely with the art form or success in the art form?
Yeah. I don't know. I think in general it's tough, because people who love what they do and care a lot about, their passions, which obviously everyone should, and everyone, there's nothing wrong with caring about it. I think it can be twisted to a point where it becomes unhealthy, and it no longer is something that's helping you but hurting you, because you have to be able to be a human first before you can, I don't know, like I feel like one thing that has saved me has been like the separation of the two, and a constant reminder of like, at the end of the day when I go to bed, I'm still just like Sydney Kirkegaard.
Yeah.
And I can wake up and I can do whatever I want with Sydney Kirkegaard and like pursue whatever I want as Sydney Kirkegaard, but I'm still going to go to bed as Sydney.
Yeah.
And I think that has helped also, like, this kind of ties into something that we were going to talk about earlier, was that like this idea of perfection in general. And that's the only way that you can be satisfied as an artist, is when it's perfect and when things are perfect. And like, this is, for those of you who don't know, this is actually a re-recording of the original podcast that we recorded, because I asked the lovely seated ladies if I could try again, because I felt like there are moments where I struggle with this still, and I'm always constantly working on it, but I feel like I put so much value into like creating this persona that like everything is fine and everything is great and I'm going to do great and all this. And it's like, I just think it's important to be like listening to your gut. I feel like for so many years, my gut has been like numb. And I've just like, people would ask what, I remember my mom would tell me this, my friends would tell me this, be like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what feels like right to you in this choice? And I wouldn't have an answer. Like I was just floating in like indifference for like years. Wow. Because I think I just was so worried about people pleasing and so worried about making the right choice and whatever that means.
Right.
And stuff like that, where I it's kind of like a muscle where it's like, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And I recently, over the past like year, have been really working on when I do get those moments of like random, like, this just didn't feel right. Or like, I wish I could do this again. I really want to like pursue that and like vocalize that, no matter if it can be changed or not, right. Just to be able to like start using that instinct again. So that way it can gradually become stronger. But I think in general, like, I feel like I've, taken a tangent off your question,
not at all.
But a friend of mine who I've worked with a lot and is like a mentor of mine said something like a couple weeks ago that really was like to me. And he was like, I love when you make mistakes.
Wow.
Because he was one of my dance teachers.
Yeah.
And he was like, I love when you make mistakes. And that's kind of all he said. And I remember like ruminating on that for a long time, being like, that's such a strange thing for somebody to say when the point of a class is to teach people these routines and have them do it, like do what he's done, like choreographed for you. And I think I realized that like there's this weight, and I've been like this for a while, for like my whole life, which I also think is why in moments of like embarrassment or like funny moments, like I really lean into it because there's almost like a weight that gets lifted when I do make a mistake, where it's like, okay, perfection isn't possible because it literally isn't, because I just made a mistake.
Right.
And that immediate like release of that thought of being like, it's already not going to be perfect, so I can just do whatever I want. Is something that's really freeing and really cool. And obviously the goal is to have that feeling without having to make a mistake.
Sure.
And to feel like, whew, like, let's go. But it's a start, it's a start, at least acknowledging that. And I just thought that was interesting that he said that to me. Yeah. Because I, as somebody who thinks all the time and is constantly thinking about like, okay, I gotta need to make sure I do this and blah, blah, blah. The immediate, screw up makes my brain be like, well, okay.
Right.
Here, then let's
screw it all.
Yeah.
Let's really go. Let's just go.
Yeah. So that's been a really interesting thing that I've discovered as well in general. But I think just the goal of perfection is not feasible. Yeah. And I think we as artists have this mentality that it needs to be perfect all the time. Otherwise it's not worth anything. Which is so sad and wrong and terrible. Right. And it also deters people from even putting out anything to begin with. Right. Which is, the opposite of what you want. Right. And sometimes you really do want quantity over quality. You want to spill out as much of your ideas and thoughts and processes as possible. And that's when you are able to find the quality out of all of those things.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So,
was it that Matt Damon interview where he's talking about like needing to be in a space and working with people where you can share all of your ideas, and you have to get through the bad ones, because the only way you get to the good ones are when you like vomit out the bad ones too. Right. And I just loved that, because he was like, there's no way that the only ideas that you share are going to be good. Yeah. Like that's just, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And I think I saw something yesterday too, where Tom Hanks was like giving a speech for, this is what my Instagram page is clearly. Tom
on Hanks, Rachel's For You page.
Yeah, exactly. Inspirational actor lectures.
Honestly though, I find it so interesting. But Tom Hanks was like, your job as an actor is to show up on time, know the text, and come with a head full of ideas. And he was like, they don't have to be good ideas, but you got to have a head full of them. And I was like, I love that. It's just so good. Yeah. And when you're talking about I just love that your teacher said that to you. It is, I would have been like, that is very off-putting. Like at first, you know what I mean? Like, I love it when you mess up and you're like, thank you.
Thanks,
I don't know that. I don't know what to say. But we had on the podcast my Meisner and music teacher, Jillian, and she talked about, or not on the podcast, but she's talked about in our class before how she went to see a showcase one time and she found it really interesting that the people that she liked watching the most were people that I love that she said it in this way. She was like, people that I felt like if I just like went up and like shoved them, they would not be fazed because they were so present and in the moment. And I think when you were saying like, the goal is to have that feeling of freedom without necessarily like, I will be making a mistake. Like the goal is to just have that feeling. And I feel like that's kind of what it is of like, you know, I could fall to the floor. Somebody come up and push me, but like, I'm not going to be fazed by any of it, but it is so much harder like to do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and it goes
I just love that.
Yeah. And it goes back to because we care about what we do. So there is this like and especially if we attach it so much to our identity, it's like, well, if this isn't perfect, then I'm not perfect, then I'm a mess up. Then, you know, then it gets like really deep into those waters.
Sad pool.
Sad pool.
Sad pool.
Yeah.
But that, you know, this idea of not just recognizing imperfection, but accepting imperfection and using imperfection, I think is so admirable. The fact that you are like grabbing hold of that and like being able to really pursue it. And I just love that that's something that you're learning right now and that's like a part of you that's really growing. So high five for that.
Yeah. Well, and the gut thing too, like listening to your gut in that's hard. Like
so hard.
I will just hear that and say that one's hard for me too.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because I know so many people who, like my sister is like this. And I think it's one of the reasons why I just like idolize her so much, where she knows how she feels about something like instantly. And
what a blessing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But honestly though, like whether it's upset or happy or whatever, or excited, like what she feels, like she embraces instantly. She doesn't have to think about it. She doesn't have to be like, I don't know how I feel about this or what should I do? Like she just knows.
Yeah.
And that kind of like internal compass is something that I've just never, I think I used to have like really long time ago. But I think and also because of the industry that we work in, you know, you're often prized for being so flexible and being able to adapt to everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a downfall because if you're too much of a people pleaser in that way, you can easily just lose, I don't know, like what you actually would like to do in that situation. And I think it's also a terrible feeling too, to realize that you've just been kind of like floating in the ether about like things for who knows how long. Because I want to be like a decisive person.
Yeah.
And I think I am in like objective ways.
Totally.
Or like in my Virgo brain, I can make really good logical decisions that I'm like, this makes the most sense. But when it comes to something that like only is going to affect me or only is going to impact like my future or whatever, like that's significantly harder for me.
Yeah.
And I'll often call people and be like, what do I do? And they're like, what do you want to do? And I go, I feel like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want?
No,
and I'm just like, it isn't. It really isn't. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't have any feelings about it at all.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. So in the moments where I do have feelings about something now, I've been really, really trying to be like,
that's it.
This is it.
Yeah.
We're doing that.
That's
Evan,
awesome.
I was talking with Evan, one of a friend of the podcast, Evan Bertram, and she is reading a book right now about joy and like about our feelings and all different kinds of things. And she was telling me that in this book, it says that however you feel initially about something only lasts for 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. So you have to like grab a hold of it and be like, okay, this is how I feel. And then you can use that to determine, do I want to keep this emotion or this thought or this whatever, or do I not?
Yeah.
So but you have to grab onto it. You can't just be like, oh, that was weird. I had an initial that made me upset. And then toss it away. Like you have to be able to grab onto it so that you can make a good decision. Right. Not necessarily logical. Yeah. But good. You know?
Right for you in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. This is a little bit of a backtrack, but you were talking about acknowledging mistakes and you were talking about what Jillian said and all about being in the present moment and all that stuff. And it just reminded me of I'll tell this story and then I'll ask you the question. But when I was in Little Women, I did it almost 2 years ago. That makes me want to
that feels like
throw up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But when I was in Little Women, I really super focused on that show and was like, I want to do my absolute best. This is my dream role. I want to kill it. Yeah. And then every single time I would go for the end of Astonishing, I remember just feeling initial fear because I was like, people expect me to nail this, and if I don't, it's going to be bad. And my director at the time, Jessica, she came up to me and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. Yeah. And she goes, you're so scared. She was like, you can do it. I know you can do it. I've heard you do it a million times. You can do this. She was like, why are you scared? And I was like, well, I want people to be impressed and I want people to like and whatever. And she goes, LB, just fuck it. And I go, yeah. I remember that was a light bulb moment where I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. So then every time before I ended the song, I remember saying in my head, just fuck it. Just go for it. Yeah. Just go for it. And if it falls flat, that's fine because you get up and you do it again the next time. Right. So do you have something, or maybe not yet, or, but do you have something that helps you in those moments to remember imperfection is not only good, it's natural and accepted?
Yeah. It's actually funny. And I feel like this is such a lame answer, but I feel like in life, I struggle with that kind of thought. Right. Everything in my personal life, I feel like is tough for me to kind of navigate sometimes how I feel about something or getting over those insecurities. Right. But when I'm performing,
it doesn't.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it's interesting to me, because people will say, I had a voice teacher who in voice lessons, she'd be like, I don't understand. You don't do this when you're in a show. And I'm like, I know, right? That's weird. And I think I don't know if it's because I started doing it when I was so young, but I think Sydney has always been kind of something that I've constantly am trying to figure out, which I think is good. But Sydney on stage has always known what she's doing. Yeah. And I think I take a lot of comfort in that. And that also makes it feel like when I do mess up, I don't know if I've told this story already, so sorry if I have, but when I was in Sweeney Todd in college, there was a moment in the show where I have to throw bones into the fire. Is it a fire? A stove? It's not a stove.
Yeah, it's like a giant furnace thing.
I have to throw these bones into there while other people are doing stuff. And so I'm walking in all quirky and whatever. And I open the thing and I toss all the bones in. And on that night, for some reason, the toss was weird. And one of the bones fell out of the bucket. And so in my brain, I'm like, oh, that's new. That's a mistake on my end. But I realized as I was picking it up that it was a hand, a skeleton hand.
Oh my gosh, I remember this.
So I picked it up and I high-fived it and I threw it in. And I remember everyone being like, that was so funny, da, da, da. And I think I've had those moments where I just like, I trust myself more in that situation than I would like in life, which is crazy and feels like it should be the latter and hopefully neither at some point in my life. But I think I just like trust that, you know, I know that I can handle it at whatever happens. It's like being pushed, like you were talking about earlier. Like, and I think that has never wavered, which I feel very lucky for. I think it's also one of the reasons why I feel far more comfortable performing than I do being like myself sometimes. Because like even there are times like I remember I was hanging out with a couple friends of mine who do not do theater, like are just work friends. And I remember we were playing this game and it was a wonderful game to kind of like get to know you more. It's like a really popular last year. It was like a red cards box and it's like they ask kind of more. What you're talking about. It's not like personal questions. It is kind of personal questions, but it's like more introspective stuff.
Sure.
And we were doing that game, and at one point they looked at me and they were like, "You know, Sydney, you don't have to be like on all the time." And I was like, "Wow, you just read me like a book in this Central Park. Like, what are you doing? To be seen and known." Yeah. So it's just, I think in general, I feel far more comfortable on stage. So I guess I don't know how to really answer your question. The biggest thing I think that helps me is that I have to be really prepared. Yeah. I have to be so prepared that like when I go out there, I don't have to think about how prepared I am. Yeah. And that is something that's really helpful because there are times where I can feel like I'm worried because I haven't prepared enough, where it's like, I don't know if I know these words here. Right. But then I trust that I like, even if I don't, which has happened to me numerous times, I've forgotten lyrics on many occasion, including a cabaret where I made up the entire song.
You read my mind. I was about to say, hold on. This is my like favorite Sydney Kirkegaard story because I love the show Spamalot. And Sydney one time, this was in college, sang Diva's Lament, Whatever Happened to My Part, for the cabaret. And she goes, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be so fun. Like Sydney is literally like one of the funniest people on the planet. So she goes up there, I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. And she starts singing and I was like, oh, this is like a different version. Like I've never heard these lyrics. Like this is so interesting. And I literally thought that Sydney had found some like off the beaten path version, like maybe like a parody version of this song on YouTube and just like learned that version. And she like, again, I bought the whole thing. Everybody's cracking up. Everybody's I don't think laughing. A lot of people bought it. But literally, she made the whole thing up on the spot.
I did. Well, no, let me set the scene. So we were doing this cabaret. We had to pick 2 songs. And everybody in our class was like, I'm going to sing a new song that I've never done in class before, but I've always wanted to. Yeah. And I was the only one doing 2 songs that everyone had heard me sing already. So I was like, fine. I'll do a new song. Yeah. Day of. Fine.
Because that's fun. Yeah.
And smart. Yeah. Very smart. So, and not only do I pick a song that is like very wordy, but also like 18 pages long. Like, Sydney, pick a short song, pick a song that you literally already know the words to.
It has like a little more of a pattern to it.
Correct. Yeah. It's not a storytelling. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. And so I get up there and I also have a plan. I'm like, I'm going to sing this song first and then finish with my other song because this first song is like a lot funnier and then it can be more serious at the end and it'll be great. And I go up there, I make it to like 1 page of the material before I just completely go up. And I'm like, I don't even know any English words right now. I don't even know. I can't even think of a coherent sentence that's close to what it could have been. And the music keeps going and I'm like, okay. And in that moment, I'm also thinking, okay, I have 2 choices. One is that I make up the words as best I can, Or 2, I ask to start over. But the risk with option number 2 is that I forget again. And arguably, forgetting a second time is worse than the first.
Truly.
I had this whole conversation in like split second in time in my head.
I choose one.
And I went, I choose one.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, make it rhyme, make it rhyme, make it rhyme. I don't know what the rhyme is or what it's about, but it has to rhyme. And that's the only way they're going to buy it. And then, so then I keep going. And I realized, I was like, well, the music
song is 8,000.
Correct.
Minutes,
I was like, Mark, our accompanist, is still going. So I'm like, when is this? I don't even, because I've lost track now. I don't even know where I am, like if I'm close to the end or not. And it gets to a point where there's like an elongated note. And so like I hit it at the same time as the piano. So I'm thinking, oh, we've made it. We're done.
Yeah.
So it goes and then I stop and then Mark continues on playing. And I'm like, there can't be more. There can't be more. And instead of trying to continue on that way, I just decide to say, no, this will work in the moment. And I literally go, Mark, stop. They've had enough. And I leave. I walk off the stage. Mark's just like, okay, and just like stops playing. But I don't think, and then I sat down and realized, oh, great. In another 20 minutes, I have to go back up there and sing another song. It's not like I can just be like, well, that sucked and I can go home. Yeah. I have to face them again. Yeah. I have to walk up there.
And sing something serious.
And sing some, yeah. And you know what it was? It was Smile. The song that goes like, smile, though your heart is aching. Oh. And so we had to do a little like crowd work for every song, like in the beginning, to be like, this song is da-da-da. So I walked up there for the second song.
Like, my heart is aching.
And I was like, hi, everyone. I was like, sometimes things happen to you in life where, you don't always want them to go the way, or you don't expect them to go, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And I said something like say you just don't get the good grade that you wanted on your test, or you forget all the lyrics to a song you're supposed to sing. I digress. At the end of the day, we should all just smile. And I was like, freaking nailed it. But like,
Sydney.
And then you live and you learn. And I told my voice teacher, who's like a woman who I love dearly, she literally would smack me across my face if I deserved it. And I loved that about her.
Yeah.
I told her about it the following week and she was like, that was the dumbest thing you could have done. And I was like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, but I did it.
Yeah, I did.
Thanks.
Yeah. And she was like, I don't know why you did that. And I was like, I don't know either. And she's like, are you going to do it again? And I go, no. And she goes, all right.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Honestly, too, like kudos to Mark that he just kept playing. He was like, she's figured it out.
Yeah. I'm like, bro didn't see that the lyrics were completely
I'm sure that he did, but also Mark was one of those people where you just like thought there was like an unspoken trust. He'd be like, you got it. Yeah. And we'd be like, yeah, you got it too.
Our accompanist at Baylor, go Bears, were
crickets.
Okay. Where his name was Guilherme Almeida, and if you would have done that, he would have just stopped, and then he would have been like, "What are you doing?"
See, that's terrible.
He would have been like, "What are you doing? These are wrong." Like in front of everyone.
See, no, yeah. I would much rather play Mark, who's probably not even listening to what I'm saying, and just living his life, playing the keys.
Yeah, playing the.
The only time he heard me is when I said, Mark, they've had enough. And I left.
He probably took that like a champ too. He probably thought it was so funny.
So funny.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. We have to move on to our other questions. Yeah. Sydney.
Yes.
Why do you think the arts are important?
Oh, well,
I think we've kind of talked about a good bit of why they're important, but
we have. I'll keep it brief. I just think like the arts is something that connects us all as human beings, no matter where we come from, no matter what our passions are, no matter what lives we lead. I just think the arts in general of any kind of medium just kind of is a reflection on like us human beings. Mm-hmm. And everyone can relate to being a human because we're all humans. And I don't know, I just think it's something that is needed because it's kind of like therapy, like passive therapy almost, where you don't realize it's happening until you feel significantly different after you've experienced it. Yeah. And then you're like, whoa, like that really hit me in a weird way that I wasn't ready for. And I love that. I think we just need it in general, because that's how you connect with people. Like, my dad is like the furthest thing from artistic in this world, but like the one thing that connects us is that we both share like a deep love for like 70s and 80s rock music.
Yeah.
And so like I'll come home and he'll already have it pulled up on the TV of like YouTube videos of his favorite bands, and we'll just sit and watch.
I love that.
That's so sweet.
And you know, he's not the most like emotional guy. Like he'll come to like shows, but he doesn't know what's going on. He came and saw Pippin once and he was like, I don't really know what happened, but you did great.
And you were like, thanks, Dad.
And honestly, like that matters far more to me than like him understanding the key themes of Pippin, you know?
Right.
But it's like stuff like that where I think that you're able to find a connection some way, somehow with people that you even assume that you don't have any similarities to.
Yeah.
There's always a tie with something artistic related. And I think that's why we need it, because without it, then we're just people in our little suits going to work.
Yeah.
And that's, what kind of life is that, you know? It's so bad.
Yeah.
So
My one of my favorite movies ever is Dead Poet Society. And
oh, Captain, my Captain.
oh,
The best.
sob every time. I'm not kidding. If I need a good cry, I'll just fast forward to the end of the movie and just
That's how I feel about the movie Miracle. Have you seen the movie Miracle?
Yes, we
Yes.
talked about this on Instagram, and
Yes.
I love it so much.
so great. Miracle is also a fantastic
That
film.
speech. Have you seen that YouTube video
Yes,
of the
with the
kid?
Oh,
Oh,
two different videos.
it's like the little kid who memorized the locker room speech. It's amazing. What were you talking about?
There's a wedding video of a maid of honor, and she basically like mad-libbed it, where she took out all the hockey terms and put in marriage terms.
That's hilarious.
But it's the same speech that he does in the locker room.
I love that.
It's incredible. Anyways,
That's amazing.
That's
As you
your
were
Dead
saying.
Poet Society.
No. Yeah. No, but Robin Williams, Professor Keating, tells the boys, he says, we don't write poetry because it's cute, or we don't make art because it's cute. He said, we make art or we write poetry because we are part of the human race. And I think that is such a to your point of what you were saying, like without art, what are we doing? We're just going to work. The feeling and connection and all these things become empty.
Yeah.
Or even just more difficult.
Yeah.
I just love that quote. I just think it really speaks to what you were saying.
And it's cool because I think I read a book back in high school about psychology, about how the human brain desperately tries to make order from chaos, which is why we often like categorize things and kind of put things into different groupings, like even just like regular things you don't think about, because it has to find like order. And I feel like art is a lot like that. Like it's like all the trauma, all the good, the bad, the ugly things that we endure as human beings, we need to find a way to find structure for it so we can process it in like a healthy way.
Yeah.
And
wow,
I feel
so
like
good.
that's what art does, whether it's painting, whether it's theater, whether it's singing, dance, you know what I mean? Like any sort of artistic thing, I feel like that is the main way that people are able to kind of healthily and safely kind of, I don't know, find order in whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
I know that it's something that I feel like is the reason why I love it so much, is because like no matter what I'm going through, like I'll go and be sweaty for an hour and a half in a dance class,
Right.
and just like get all of that out and use that in a way that is gonna, benefit me. And it's just like worlds of a difference after that,
And it's not just finding order too, but it's like finding beauty in the midst of darkness or, feelings of hopelessness or anything like that. I just think about visual art too. Like there's so many paintings that you look at that you're like, oh my gosh, like this just makes me feel kind of awful. But then at the same time, you can be like awestruck by the beauty that it is like visually. I don't know. And that happens all the time with, poetry or, watching plays or dance even. Like I can be so terribly heartbroken watching a dance, but then I can also feel so comforted by the fact that in the story of whatever is so, you know, broken and sad, there's so much beauty that I'm observing in the order that they've put it in. You know what I mean? So I love that.
Yeah.
Sydney, what keeps you grounded as a human?
That's interesting. The last time we talked about this, I feel like I have very different thoughts about it now, which is funny because not a lot of time has happened between those two.
But we're humans, we evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. One time our friend Leroy, you know Leroy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He says the phrase absolutely positively. It brings me so much joy. I say it all the time now. Oh God, I love that kid. But what was the question? I've already forgotten.
Oh, sorry. What keeps you grounded?
Oh, yes. A huge thing I think I've found is I love like doing really simple things, like indulging in more simple. Like there's a Studio Ghibli
Oh, yeah.
fest that happens where they show all of his like big famous movies in the movie theater, which is really cool because you get to see it on like a big screen. And I love like Miyazaki films. There's something about them. It's like beyond the fact that they're like stunning to look at. There's something really nice about sitting and watching something and know like that it's okay, that nothing bad has to happen for it to be like touching and for it to be like important.
Yeah.
And a lot of his movies are like that, where it's like the plot is very simple and nothing like truly traumatic typically happens. I mean, not all of them, but like a lot of them are just very like kind and feel very warm.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, I always leave feeling like, oh, like that was so refreshing and nice. So like I would say those types of things. Also in general, just I think I love singing and acting and dancing very much for different reasons. But dancing has always been like an outlet for me without a doubt. And I'll even tell this to people where it's like often I'll take a class or a couple classes and afterwards, is serotonin the one that makes you happy or is it dopamine? Which I don't know. I never get them mixed up.
Both.
Yeah.
Serotonin is
One's like instant though, isn't it?
Yeah, dopamine's instant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the dopamine then. Yeah. But after those classes, I instantly just want to like call everyone. For no reason. Like I just want to be like, how are you? Like I'm just in the greatest and I feel like my feet are like firmly on the ground. And so I would just say anything like that, like something very simple and easy has been really nice, just to kind of also give my brain a break.
Yeah.
Because as a triple Virgo, I don't put a lot of weight into astrology, but everyone says that it makes sense that I'm a triple Virgo, so I'm going to believe them.
Yeah.
That is just nice. It's nice to like not think for like an hour and a half.
Right.
And it feels like a complete reset of whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like meditative almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice. And it feels like very, very funny to say that, but because I feel like a lot of people are like, I do that all the time. I go, yeah, I should be doing that all the time. Yeah. I should be not constantly like fighting wars in my brain.
Yeah.
But alas, but good old Miyazaki can get me back.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, my friend Ryan Dunn, friend of the podcast, Ryan Dunn, he is obsessed with Studio Ghibli. Yeah. And for the longest time, he was like, we have to watch a Studio Ghibli film. We have to watch a Studio Ghibli film. And I was like, and I always was resistant to it for some reason. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know. And then we watched My Neighbor Totoro.
Yes.
And I loved it. It was so beautiful. Yeah. Just everything about it is extremely like, when you said it's warm, that's exactly like the phrase I would use. Yeah. I watched it and I was like, wow, suddenly I'm like lulled into like.
Yeah, it's like a blanket, like you're wearing a blanket, a warm blanket.
Exactly. Yeah, so cool. I love it.
I love it. I don't know why.
I love it.
Oh, by the way, Sydney was Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. I realized I was like, I don't know if we ever actually said that to the people, but
I was Love. Yeah.
She's great.
They asked if I wanted the pie sign at the end of the show and I said no, and I regret it to this day.
Oh man.
I don't know what I would do with a massive pie sign.
Right.
But I still kind of wish I took it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I remember striking that show was like really it was something.
Yeah.
Because like you just happen upon these like
body parts and like
I remember like the meat grinder was just like left in a hallway, and I like walked through one, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Wow. I did props for that show, which was already like to be in the show and to work on props was like something of a storm.
Yeah.
But I like made the pies that I
oh my gosh
that I had in the show,
pies.
which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I know I'm just acting like I'm making it in the show,
but
I literally made these and painted them. So I really am her.
I really am her. This is method.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 4 is, what person, place, or experience has shaped you the most creatively?
This, I feel like I've talked about this before, but it's true. So I'm going to say it again. I did a show called West Side Story. Called West Side Story, if you've heard of it.
It's
a little niche.
Little like out of pocket show.
Yeah. Not many people know about it. But I did it way back in like 2019. And that was the first show that really like scared me in a really good way. And I even have like videos of myself on the ride home being like, I'm not going to be able to feel my legs tomorrow. And I'm so happy about it. Like because I just love this. It sounds so stupid, but I love like working hard. Like nothing makes me happier than knowing that I gave my absolute everything.
Yeah.
Like there's just something so, regardless of the outcome of what, even if it was ended up at the end of the day being like still bad or whatever, the fact that I pushed through every wall and like sweat my butt off and thought like more intentionally than I have in a while. Like there's just something really cool about that. And I remember that was one of the first shows that I had been in that I like took a second to be like proud of myself.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of sad.
No, but it's so good.
But I really was like really proud of myself because I was really scared of that project because that was also the first show where I was definitely on the lower end of like goodness, I guess, or experience or like
sure.
And so it kind of like lit a fire under me to be like, I gotta shape up.
Yeah.
And I gotta like get my stuff together because I want to not only keep up with these people, but I want to like flourish along with them.
Yeah.
And it was never like a bad environment. Everyone was like super supportive and great, but it was just me realizing like in a very realistic way, being like, I got the most work to do out of all these people.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah. I love a mental to-do list of like, I got to practice in my backyard.
Yes.
I got to look at my music. I got to review before I do this scene. Like, and it's like, not to say that I hadn't done that previously, but a lot of the shows that I had done just come rather naturally. So I never really had to even worry about it. I'll be like, I'll get it. Even if it's not like today, I'll get it. And that was the first show. It was like, will I? Will I get it?
Yeah.
So that's an experience that I like really kind of champion as kind of a good pivotal moment for me. Because it's also my first show, like as an adult, that I had that experience.
Right.
Because also it's really easy to be impressive as a kid.
Yeah.
Like it just is. There's less of us.
Right.
Like less of us. There's less of like you as a kid. And so like anything that you can do that's kind of above the bar is usually is regarded
massive.
as is like people are like, wow, that's so good. Like that. Far more difficult as an adult.
Yeah. 100%.
Because there's more and people have just been doing it for longer. And so it was a nice little wake up call.
Well, and not only did you like totally crush it, like when you just like went for it and you succeeded far beyond, but then it connected you to the Phish job, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I'm just saying the fact that you walked into that job scared and then got a job at Madison Square Garden.
Is like huge.
Pretty legit.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think that that's really cool. That is definitely something to feel proud of, Sid. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I love that. You also had great stories that came from that one.
Oh yeah. Quick story, because this is important for everyone to know.
My favorite Cindy Kirkegaard story.
I think we're talking about the same one. So
yes.
Tell me if it's not.
For sure. I'm sure.
So there was a part, we were like a week into the rehearsal period. This is just really important because this I feel like represents me as a human in like the fastest way. So the choreographer is John Rua, who is insanely talented, man.
So good.
So good. I'd never worked with him before. I'd only seen his work, and I was like, he is so cool. His choreography is sick and so hard, and it's going to be so fun to learn. We're a week into the rehearsal, and he brought on a lot of people who he has worked with before. So everybody kind of already had this like buddy vibe.
Right.
So I kind of was like hoping to, what do you call it?
Yeah.
And also, like, what do you call it when you like go in?
Like infiltrate?
Yes, thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
I was gesturing very strangely, but you.
I got you, girl. Don't worry. I got you.
Thank God. So I was like, I just want to like infiltrate this like cool circle of people.
Yeah.
And so we were on a break. We were working on the Dream Ballet sequence. So it was just really big dance number, like everyone. And we took like a 5 or something. And I stayed where I was like last standing so I could like review because I didn't need any water or anything. And then all of a sudden he comes up to me like something fierce, like walking, because he never does anything half-assed, like even like walking and talking to people. He's just like always 100%. And he walked up to me and he goes, "Who am I?" And I was like, which in my brain, about like 50 questions came in. And I was like, do you mean like who you are? Like, what's your name? Or do you mean like because I'm Sydney. And this is literally what came out of me as he said this. And I was like, oh, I'm not you can be, but I was standing here because for far too long until the point where my brain just gave up. I swear, it was like a light switch. It was like, nope, I got nothing else. And I bent over. He's still looking at me, waiting for an answer. Because I thought like, do you mean like, who are you? Like, what's your name? Or like, do you want me to say you're the choreographer?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to whatever? And I bent down with my hands on my knees and just went in front of him. He's like centimeters in front of me. And I realized shortly after all he meant was like, who was he in terms of the choreography? Like he was replacing somebody who was in front of me, who my partner was. He was looking for the word Josh, everyone. That was the answer he was looking for. He was looking for the word Josh. And I said, I've been before. I thought for far too long. And it made it worse because he turned around and was like, what is going on? Everyone else thought it was so funny. And my roommate, who I live with now, who's also in the show with me, he was like, it was really cool because like I witnessed Sydney have a stroke and I just got to watch. So it wasn't even like, oh, I probably played it up in my head that it was no, whatever. Everyone was like, Sydney,
are you okay?
Sydney needs to sit down for a minute. Sydney did need water on that 5-minute break. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, anyways.
It gives me every single time.
Who am I?
Who am I?
Out of nowhere. You can't do that to a newbie.
I don't know.
Do that to one of your regulars. You can't be doing that to me when my butthole is clenched the entire rehearsal process. Oh, yay. I was like, oh, yay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have one more question. Mm-hmm. It's what book, play, or film do you think every person should read or watch?
Okay. This is kind of cheating. I said this last time too, but I butchered the name, so I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
I watched the show called Feel Good. Mm-hmm. And it's a show written by a comedian named Mae Martin. They're a comedian from Canada. Okay. And I rewatched it like a month ago, and I binge watch it every time because I just forget like how good it is. And it's a show that's very similar to like Fleabag vibes.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Where it's so unbelievably funny, talking about really unbelievably real things. And because it's about like their journey as they kind of discover their identity and relationships, and it's so funny, and I care about all of the characters, every single one of them. It's just written so well. It's like heart-wrenching and like just so real, but still so funny. Like I just sit there every time and I'm like, God, that's just like the greatest combination when you find something that makes you want to like curl up in a ball and cry, but also like laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, so I would highly recommend that. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's similar to Fleabag, where it was 2 seasons.
Okay.
And the second season is just as good as the first, which is, I feel like, a rarity nowadays.
Totally.
But that's, I think that would be my like media recommendation. There hasn't really been anything else that has kind of sparked my inspiration or anything like that. But I will say, you know what has? I am working on, it's very early on in the process, but I'm working on writing a one-woman show.
Yes. Thank God.
Thank the Lord. praise God. That's what we all wanted.
Sydney went, I'm working on, and I was like, I'm here for it.
You both said yes and closed your eyes. You both went yes.
Because it was more of us saying like amen.
It's because it's our dream coming true. That is why.
But
oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
Because I have about like 26 note apps of like one sentence thoughts and like bits and stuff that I'm just like, I need to just like consolidate everything and figure out. I haven't figured out yet if I want to like film it a la like Bo Burnham vibes,
sure,
or like do it like a staged thing. But either way, I've decided that's something that I really do want to work on. But the reason that inspired me is because I was watching like a bunch of stuff on like Hulu and Netflix. We have all the accounts, and I was like, there's just a lot of like cis white guys just doing the minimum, and doing it and making all the monies and getting all the praises. And a part of me was like, okay, like great if they can do that.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to them, but like, I don't think any of them are going to be winning any awards with this material that they've written, and they're still able to like, you know, make that stuff work. I mean, granted, they have a lot of privilege, and that's also why, but you know what I mean? It's that was something that I was like, I just want to be able to, I don't know. It was just, that inspired me to be like, what am I waiting for then?
Yeah.
You know, it's like more of us need to start, I don't know, being like, tomorrow can wait. Today is today.
Yeah.
You know, like instead of waiting for it to kind of strike you to do it, I'm like, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
You just got to buckle down. It's never going to be the right time. You're never going to have enough time.
You're never going to be ready.
Ain't that the truth?
Because I say that a lot. Yep. I'm always like, I'm so busy. I'm so tired. I'm so stressed, which is all true. Mm-hmm. But that will not change tomorrow.
No.
That will not change a week from now.
Yeah.
No.
So we just got to do it.
You got to go for it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited for you. That's huge.
Yeah, me too. Sid,
I can't wait.
This has been like so inspirational. I feel so filled up right now.
I know, same.
Thank you for being here and for just, you're the best.
No, honestly, thank you both. I know we said this earlier, but this was a re-recording, and they did not have to say yes to re-recording. And I just wanted to say thank you for being such kind, wonderful human beings.
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for trusting your gut.
Yeah.
And for, honestly, truly that conversation has been very eye-opening. Like, it made me kind of reflect on like, oh yeah, like, am I following those instincts in my day-to-day life and like acting on them? Not just like noticing them, because that's, you know, it's just important. So
yeah,
100%.
Will you share your socials and anything else that, like, if there's anything coming up? Obviously, now we're going to be looking forward to a one-woman show at some point.
Yes, we're still in the writing phase. Yeah. I've adopted what Taika Waititi, he said in an interview once. He's like, let the writing process take the longest.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm currently.
I'm so sorry. I've never heard that name before in my life. And when you said that, I was like,
you've never heard of Taika Waititi?
No.
You know who Taika Waititi is, yes?
No.
But you guys,
do I?
Yes,
I don't
you do.
I don't.
You
who
do.
Is it?
When you spoke those words, I was like,
have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
Okay. Yep.
He is the writer and director.
Okay.
of those. And he's also in those as well. It's like random cameo people.
Wait, he plays.
He plays Hitler.
Does he play Hitler? Okay, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I never knew his name.
Yes.
So then when you spoke, I was like,
yes,
what?
Wickedly funny, huge fan of his. Like, he's just so unbelievably smart, and like, obviously the movies that he makes are like incredible
Great,
as well.
yeah.
But he said that in an interview. He was like, let it take as long as it needs. He's like, I've written scripts and then not come back to them like a month, a few months, a year, a few years. He's like, but I always having that fresh set of eyes after like a break from it is like probably one of the best things that you can do. So we're still in that phase.
Yeah.
But yes, hopefully in the near future, I would love that. But yes, my the only social media I have is my Instagram, and it's at Sid Kirkegaard. I haven't posted in 2 years, but
Hey, yo.
I do believe another post will be coming in the future. So yeah, we took a little social media hiatus.
Good for you.
But I think
you,
I
my
think I'm ready.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready now.
It's always a love-hate relationship.
Truly.
Boundaries have
Complicated.
to be set. Sometimes breaks need to happen.
Yeah. It is funny though, because people will be like, where are you?
Yeah.
And that, because sometimes the only way to contact people is through like their
media,
Instagram,
gosh,
you know, which
Yep.
is kind of sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or like that's the only way people can get like updates on your life. And it's like, well, you can also call me.
Right.
but-
Right, exactly.
We have these
But I don't know. What do I know?
gadgets that we
Yeah.
carry around with us all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We sound so old.
I know, we're like, no one
calls me anymore.
Call.
I was talking to Evan, our roommate, the other day, and we go, I think we should make like a phone docking station in our apartment. And I was like, yeah, remember like home phones when like you would pick up the phone and then you'd put it back in one spot.
Yes.
And it would live there. And it
Yes.
wasn't just with you all the time.
Yes.
It wasn't like your other limb.
Yeah, have you heard there's this video on TikTok that had been like going around majorly of this girl, this Gen Z girl, and I say that in a negative way. Gen Z is great, but this girl was like, I just wish that we had a singular phone and like we didn't have, and it just lived at our house and like
A landline.
Like no one, and then it cuts to this girl who's in her like 40s and she's got her head down on the counter.
Yes.
And she just breathes heavy and then she's like, am I truly this old that the children don't know what a landline is?
But it's true. They don't. They really
don't.
don't. I want a answering machine.
Oh gosh, yes.
I want to be Jennifer Lopez in the Wedding Planner movie when
Yes.
she walks in and she presses that little button.
Yep. And then it goes through all them all.
Then she's cooking her little meal
Yeah.
and listening to her message. Like, I want that.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
But no one also leaves messages anymore. I love leaving people messages.
Me too.
Sometimes I call and I hope that people don't answer
Yes,
so I can leave
just
them
so
a
you
message.
can leave a message.
Yeah. So I can be like, hi, it's me.
Yeah. Hey, it's me. Or like, I'll just like leave my message in like song or like a random accent or something like that.
Well, and also I don't know if this is like psychotic of me, but I save all of my favorite voicemails.
Yes.
No, I love that.
Me too.
But I have voicemails from like 2010 on my phone.
Love
like,
that.
I just refuse to. So when
Delete.
if my data like goes, I'm gonna
Bye.
lose my mind and be so sad. But I literally have a voicemail from a friend who sang me the entire happy birthday song like in 3 different languages when I was like 13.
That is
I have
so
that
cool.
saved on my phone.
You need to like screen record them.
I know.
And
Yeah,
I
and then
know.
like
put
put
'em
them on
somewhere.
a hard drive or
I
something.
did just buy an external hard drive. That
See,
made me
there
feel
you
like an
go.
adult.
Yeah.
Because my computer was getting hot whenever I used it, and I was like, "This is dangerous.
This is bad."
Because
Yeah.
I've had that laptop since 2013.
Oh,
Wow, good
wow.
for you.
Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, she's a hefty gal. She's
Dang.
she's
She's a thick
heavy.
girl.
She's losing about all of her bottom screws, aside from 2.
That's
Wow.
10 years. I mean, congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
that's
actually
huge.
like,
Thanks.
that's a pretty big anniversary.
That's what I'm. Yeah, I know. It's our anniversary.
It's ours. Yeah.
I've had that laptop as long as we've been friends.
Oh my
Whoa,
gosh.
whoa, whoa.
That's epic.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Gosh.
Sid, we love you.
We love you
I
so
love
much.
you guys.
We really,
Thanks for
really
having
do.
me.
Oh, girl,
course.
anytime. You come on anytime.
Honestly.
You guys, thanks for listening to the For the Makers podcast. We love you guys. We hope that you are having an incredible day. Listen to your instincts. Go out there and do it. We love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the For the Makers podcast. To find out more about Seated Productions, you can visit our website at www.seatedproductions.com and follow us on Instagram at seated.productions. And if you love what we do and want to support us, you can make a tax-deductible donation by visiting our website or by following the link in our podcast description. Until next time, listen well and tell stories. Woo, ooh, ooh. There's only one of you, so tell us your story like only you do. We're all on the same team of dreamers, a happy, scrappy group of believers. So come, play a part. There's room for mistakes and messes and parts. There's not many takers. We're doing it for the makers. Word.